welcome everybody to the AI Summit. I'm going to talk to you about data management, and how it is so critical to unlocking the potential of AI. And it's an incredible time to be talking about this. AI is truly exploding. Is going from, over the last couple of years, we were dealing mostly with POCs, proof of concepts. But over the last 12 months, that has changed quite dramatically. It has moved from POCs to production. The conversation is now about AI at scale. And as we do that, data, which is the lifeblood of AI, there is no AI without data. The role of data and data management becomes even more critical. So that's what, I have limited time. I'm going to share some perspectives on this topic with you. I spent the last 25 years working in the field of data, but I spent the last 3 years researching it, and I published my second book, Mastering the Data Paradox, earlier this year, which delves much more into this topic. It's a 550-page book. So I'll try to condense the insights from it in the next 20 minutes or so. But after this session, if you're interested, you can get a free copy of the book from our stall, the Incedo stall. Okay. So just to set the stage, we'll go from the big picture and get more specific about it. Yeah. So when we talk about AI and data, we really have to talk about the trifecta which is really driving the world we are in, which is digital, data, and AI together. Okay. These are three massive forces. You can't really disaggregate them today. They are very, very deeply intertwined with each other. Each one of them is a cause and effect of the other. Clearly, digital experiences are all driven by data. And data further, and the digital experiences themselves then drive a lot of data exhaust. A lot of the data explosion that has happened is because of digital. And then data is the foundation for AI, but then AI is also being used increasingly to solve some of the most endemic problems that we face with data, in particular data quality, data security. Yeah, so it's kind of almost like a dance. It's like a cosmic dance of these three forces, digital, data, and AI, which is happening together. They are reinforcing each other. And this is the main force, which is reshaping every industry today. Every industry is being reshaped by this, and therefore every job as well. Now, just to kind of double click on data and the sharing an insight from my research, that the explosion we have seen with data over the last 25 years is simply one of the most dramatic events in human history. Okay, and I choose my words carefully. I don't think there are too many parallels in human history where over a relatively short period of time, something has grown this dramatically. Yeah. So if you look over the last 25 years, the world population has grown by 30%. Yeah. The GDP has grown 3x. Internet, which has exploded, has grown 20x. But if you look at the data generated, that has grown 100 to 150,000 times. It's a completely different denomination. It has grown 100 to 150,000 times. So that's what we are dealing with. Just to put it in a different way, 90% of the data of the world has got generated over the last 2 to 3 years. So we have 10,000 years of recorded human history or more. And over the last 2 to 3 years, 90% of the data of the world has got generated. So we are dealing with something quite special, quite significant, and it is of course changing many, many things. Now, most of this data that has got generated, the 100 to 150,000 times, or the 90% of data getting generated over the last couple of years, is unstructured data. And so far, when we have talked about data management, it has largely been structured data. We have not used more than 1% of the potential of unstructured data. Most of it goes as waste. Yeah. Now, with GenAI in particular, there is a great opportunity to unlock the value of unstructured data. Now, GenAI is built on unstructured data, but further, it provides an opportunity to unlock the potential of unstructured data. So just get the big picture first, okay? That how much data has exploded. Most of that is unstructured data. Most of it is not getting used at all, less than 1% getting used. It has historically been very difficult to use it, but with generative AI, now it is more real. It is getting into play, yeah? And as we think about it, as we think about data and utilizing the potential of data, data has always been a bit of an enigma. It's an enigma, okay? That data has always been, hey, it's such a powerful force, but it has always been difficult to harness, difficult to drive value from it. It's not just now. The problem or the opportunity has increased dramatically, but for those of us who have been working in this field for the last 25, 30 years, it has been the issue. And the best way I have found to describe the situation with data is a paradox. Is a paradox. That there is a deluge happening at one end. Yeah, there is a deluge happening at one end. At the same time, there is a drought of insights and a drought of actions. So there is a deluge and drought situation, which is coexisting. Yeah, and with this, what happens is that when I talk to my clients, what I hear about data is that it costs too much, it takes too long, it costs too much. Even when I get it, even when a data initiative gets done, I don't have the data I actually need. Yeah, and if even by some grace of divine force I get it, we don't fully know how to use it. Okay, so it's a very interesting conundrum. You spend a lot of time and money, but what are you really getting from it? Okay, and historically, when I wrote the book, and it's I kind of wrote it over the last 3 years, but the last year the situation was changing, and I said, okay, what I've written, I need to write another book. So there were 3 kind of core root causes. Okay, the biggest has been the very limited front to back integration. The front I say simply as closer to business, okay, which is where actions are happening, and the back is the infrastructure. Okay, there's a very limited interaction, very limited connect between them. This, by the way, is the endemic problem we have in technology. Yeah, that's always the problem, but in data, with data, this problem becomes bigger. Data quality, garbage in, garbage out. Big data was supposed to solve the problem of data quality. Absolute nonsense. Because if you're looking at directional insights, it's fine. The logic of large number works. But when you're looking at specific actions, and if you are in healthcare or financial services, and you're looking to use data for specific actions, law of large numbers doesn't work. Data quality is extremely critical. And silos. A lot of it is about connecting the data, and you have data silos, you have system silos, and worst of all, you have organizational silos. Yeah, and when I've looked at what drives the difference between the relative success of digital natives and traditional enterprises, the biggest issue is actually not technology, it is organizational silos. Yeah, so historically, these have been the issues which have driven the data paradox. And when we get to the current kind of paradigm of unstructured data, of generative AI, which is an absolute game changer, I laid kind of the context of it. There are 3 more very significant issues. There is contextualization, that the output you get from LLMs is amazing. That for almost any problem out there, with very little tuning and prompting, you can get a 40 to 60% answer, which is amazing. Many problems have been, historically, we did not know how to progress with them because the data was not there. Now you can do something, but a 40 to 60% is not enough to take action. So you have to contextualize the data, and that's a big deal. How do you do that? The second is, how do you operationalize this? As you think about AI at scale, how do you make it happen at scale? And then the question of security. And especially, and it depends a lot on the industry, especially financial services and even healthcare. There is the regulation, there are the regulators, but companies are paranoid, because hey, there is a potential two-way flow of data. How do you manage that? So there are kind of additional significant set of issues. And the issue there are two kind of big set of issues it is leading to. The first is return on investment. Especially when you think about AI at scale. Okay, right now there is this enthusiasm, exuberance around the potential of AI and Gen AI, and I think it is very well placed. I'm one who feels that, look, this is bigger than any one of us thinks. But the way it is architected today, the way it is offered today, when you think about AI at scale, the cost implication of this is, I don't think anybody has costed it. Okay, so I was at AWS reInvent last week in Las Vegas, and AWS, and we are a partner of theirs, and they presented the stack, and I was just thinking that, oh wow, if anybody actually does all the layers of the stack, it will be like infinite cost and ROI. You can never have any ROI. And by the way, the clients that we work with, which are like Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, the big banks, the telcos, the big pharma companies, and so on, which is 90% of our economy. They are not looking to shift wholesale onto a new AI stack. They have a big stack. They spend billions on it every year. So they're looking to infuse AI into their stack into a practical way, not wholesale replace it. So those are the two big things. How do you scale up AI in a practical, intelligent fashion? Intelligent fashion. Just doing what is out there, I think, is the dumbest thing to do. How do you do it in an intelligent fashion? That's where as again, part of my book, I came up with a framework which we have tried to adapt for the AI world. From a data perspective, how do you deal with it? So we have a set of issues. How do you solve it? So there are kind of 5 key elements to this. This is not comprehensive, and I don't think any data management or AI framework can truly be fully comprehensive because there's a lot happening here. But the 5 most important things as I see them. The first is narrowing the problem, and therefore narrowing the data that you need. The problem with big data is the bigness of it. When it is too big, the data quality issue also becomes too big. Okay? And the problem with data is that we have tried to manage it as a physical or a technology issue. And that's the biggest disservice we have done. Just because a platform or a tool is available which can bring things together doesn't mean that you do it. Because it's almost like an impossible problem to solve. So the only way you can solve for data is that if logically you were to narrow it down. You have to narrow it down. And that means you're very clear about the use cases, and you are relatively clear about what data is needed. So that's the first layer. Okay? That's the first layer. The second layer is about how do you connect the front and back. How do you connect the front and back? And where increasingly the paradigm is one of products. Data products, AI products, and I think these concepts are merging. A product is something which is repeatable, which brings together data, it brings algorithm, and it brings applications together. So data, algorithm, application together. And these are repeatable. And this is not new infrastructure. This This is kind of building on the existing infrastructure. Yeah. The third is that, okay, now that you have this, how do you enable the AI? Okay, how do you enable AI with data? And I'll kind of double click on this. The fourth layer, and this is super critical when you think about Gen AI, is contextualization, and that's where the knowledge engineering layer comes in. Because if you just throw data into LLMs, you'll get some output, but not what is needed. Yeah, and that's the knowledge layer. That how do you create the data? How do you create the data? How do you structure the data with your organizational structure and domain? Yeah, and the underlying platform. You're not going to just rip out your platform and put in a new platform. You have existing data platform and foundations. How do you intelligently modernize it so it can support multimodal structures, data structures, which is the foundation of generative AI. Make sense? Yeah. So very quickly go through these now that I've introduced them. So the first part, problem discovery, which I still feel is maybe the most important thing, narrowing the problem. How do you anchor everything into a business KPI? How do you use trees? How do you use AI to create trees to break down the problem? Use AI to do anomaly detection and root cause analysis so that you are able to drill down. Because for a company, even that KPI, cross-sell, collections, whatever, is a big KPI. How do you even act on it? Yeah, so you have to break it down. And you need a way of breaking it down. And today with AI, that possibility is there. When I started my career as a management consultant at McKinsey 25 years, 30 years back, we used to do this on a sheet of paper, okay? And would charge a lot of money for that. But today you have the entire data infrastructure where you can plug this in. You have, data flowing in. You have AI-based anomaly detection models, which can help you pinpoint where the issue is so you can focus your efforts, yeah? That's the starting point. I spoke about data and AI products, and it's a very, very fast evolving space. I think over the last 12 months, this has probably been one of the biggest topics of our conversation with our clients, at least the more mature ones. Now, I think there is still a lot of lack of clarity about what's a data product, yeah? And, because it is at different stages of maturity. You have data products which are just data. You have products which are data plus algorithms, and you have products which are fully formed, which is data plus algorithm plus the application. You have products which are more vertical in nature, which are really solving a customer, a business problem. A few examples that you see from one of my banking clients. But you also have horizontal products, which are not fully solving a business problem, but which are intermediate and which kind of support multiple vertical products, yeah? And enterprises are building products, but what I think is very, very important, which I don't see many enterprises doing, is to have an enterprise data product architecture. Enterprises have a data architecture, but they don't necessarily have a data product architecture, which I think is absolutely critical. I spoke about pilots to production, and then how do you make it, what all is required for that? And there are at least these 4 big things: contextualization, optimization, cost optimization. You need a mix. You just can't rely on A or B or C LLM. You need a mix of models. You need to tune them in a certain way. Explainability, that's the bugbear of AI, that you're able to get an answer. Sometimes the answer is like 95% correct. The explainability is like 30% there, because that's the fundamental nature of AI, yeah? Security and governance. And for that, like the previous one, we have created a platform called Lighthouse, which kind of does the problem disaggregation. Here, we have created a low-code, no-code platform, BrainSpark, which is a Gen AI enablement platform, which kind of enables a number of these layers. How do you bring the foundational models together? RAG, model fine-tuning, agentic workflows, and agentic workflows are becoming extremely critical. That's how you orchestrate, between the user applications and the underlying models. Now, one of the key layers here is the knowledge layer, which I mentioned earlier, and this is super critical. This is super critical, that this is the key to contextualization. This is the key. I see with my clients that they're putting a lot of tech, from a Google or wherever it is, and still the model, output is like 60%, okay, 60% accuracy. How do you go from a 60% to a 90%? That's the very real type of problems that our clients are facing. The answer is not just that underlying LLM or the underlying technology. The answer is this layer, the contextualization. How do you use ontologies? How do you use knowledge graphs to kind of curate the data, to do that domain contextualization, which lifts the entire output from generally acceptable to specifically accurate. Very, very critical. And finally, the foundations. Most enterprises have built data foundations. It's always kind of a little bit of a chasing Godot. You're always chasing it. It's never done. But most enterprises have a data foundation. But as you now think about scaling up for AI and Gen AI, there are multiple. It needs to go through a process of modernization. I don't think it is kind of throw it and kind of build it again. That would be quite a waste, and I don't think boards are going to approve that. But there are at least 3 key things to be done. The first is modernization, and that's where we have a set of tools that we have created. The first is around the modernization of the underlying data and the underlying code. So for example, just as simple as a transit, kind of an upgrade from SAS to Python codes. It has to be done at scale. What also is happening is that the logic is often embedded inside the code. It's not transparent. It's not codified. It's not documented. And that is the bugbear. Any experienced technologist here knows that. That's the bugbear of modernization programs. It's not that you can't change the code, but it is how do you capture the logic. So there are a set of things to be done there. Data quality. As the dimensions of data are increasing dramatically with Gen AI and vector databases, and just how we define data and the attributes, dimensions of data are changing. What is data quality is also becoming way more complex. So that's the second set of capability that we have developed, which is called the DQ expert. And the third is the cost. How do you optimize the underlying infrastructure? And so far, we have only worked at the cloud kind of hyperscaler level, but you can argue that it's even the underlying GPU infrastructure, right, which one has to think about. So very important set of things. See, the data foundation landscape is getting well formed, with the hyperscalers, Snowflake, Databricks. You would work with that. You will work with some combination of that, but still, it's not a plug and play. There is a lot of plumbing to be done. And that plumbing is actually key to getting that ROI. That's a key message that I want to share with you. And finally, bringing it all together. On the left-hand side, you see the framework that I talked about, the 5 layers, the Incedo data management framework. We also joke that I is not just Incedo, but intelligent, because there is a need for that. On the right-hand side is that along with the framework are the platforms, is the technology that we're bringing together. And again, a message that I want to give is that, for most large enterprises, it is about, when you approach it, it is about platform plus services. Because large enterprises like to own their own stack. That stack, they are bringing together different elements, and you have to bring it together. And that's how we have thought about it, that on the left-hand side is the what, or what are the set of things that need to be done from a data management perspective. And on the right-hand side is the how. How do you do it? I'm exactly on my time. Thank you. And if there are any questions, I'll be very happy to take that. Thank you. If you want to catch up, we have a booth in Incedo. You can see us there. Thank you.